Hi there, this is Analytical Chick.
Oh, well, people need to be awake and they need to be aware. They need to stand up against the Sect.
And today we are going to talk about enemies, treason, war, and we want to talk a little bit about definitions and breaking some stuff down. So let's get into it. Here we go. We set it up already, of course. So according to the Constitution, treason, Section 3 of Article 3, Section 3, treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of two witnesses to the same overt act, or on confession in open court. The Congress shall have power to declare punishment of treason, but no attainder of treason shall work corruption of blood or forfeiture except during the life of the person attainted. So we've got a bunch of definitions pulled up, and we're going to just break this baby down. So, war. Definition of war is a state, usually of open and declared armed hostile conflict between states or nations. When they say state, they mean nations. Originally, the United States was supposed to be more states' rights oriented and less federal oriented, and it's been corrupted over time. A period of armed conflict, a state of war. Don't you love when they define what you're talking about by saying basically the same thing? Like, war is a state of war. Like, no kidding. The art or science of warfare. So, weapons or equipment of war. Soldiers armed and equipped for war. So that's like as a noun. And these are archaic and obsolete because you don't use war to say like the war, meaning like the guns or whatever, the tanks. A state of hostility, conflict, or antagonism. A struggle or competition between opposing forces or for a particular end. Class war, war against disease. And interestingly, it says class war. I want to talk about other kinds of wars after we go through this. So, levying war, assembling the body of men for purposes of effecting by force a treasonable object. So, I thought this was interesting. Literally assembling a body with uniforms and holding up a sign saying this is war. I don't know. Maybe that could be treason. I think it could be treason. In fact, this should actually be over here. This is RevCom. You see, when they go out, I've done many videos on Refuse Fascism / RevCom. They're basically the same animal. And they're the ones that go out with the big no signs. No. I haven't really been seeing as much or hearing as much boo from them. But anyway, this came off the Facebook of one of their leaders. This was before the 2016 election. Clearly. By the graphics. Because nobody's really talking about Hill Demon that much anymore. Enemies. So yes, we're going to go back to consist of levying war against them, adhering to their enemies. Oh, actually, oops. This should be here. There we go. Sorry about that. I should have this all together before. You know what happened? Because I put everything up the other day when I was going to do the video, and then I didn't do the video. So then I went and looked for all of the tabs that I had up the other day. And so now they're a little bit out of order. Alright, adhering. Staying attached, clinging, cleaving. Nobody uses the word cleave anymore. Devoted in support or allegiance. I pledge allegiance to... When Hodomathana pledged allegiance to Isis, she adhered to it. You see, be attached as a follower, upholder. She literally, like, joined ISIS, went over there. She adhered to them. Let's see. Adhering to their enemies. Giving them aid and comfort. Well, marrying them and giving them a little boom chicka bow 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 bow. I would say that's some aid and comfort. And that can actually even be like financial aid. It's funny that giving money to a terrorist organization is like a separate statute under the law. That should be considered a form of treason, because a terrorist agency is basically like an agent at war with us, if you think about it. No person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of 2 witnesses to the same overt act, or on confession in open court. Now, this was before our day and age of digital, I would say that something being filmed, admissions on film, tweeting out, and I guess, yeah, it's basically been admitted. I don't know if she admitted it. When they asked her in an interview, she was like, smirk, my lawyer told me not to talk about it. But, yeah, right now I'm talking about Hodomathana. Adhering to their enemy. And terrorism, in the broadest sense, is the use of intentionally discriminate violence. It's basically the same definition as war. I think the only difference is that terrorism is not necessarily a state actor. So, like, ISIS had some territory, but terrorism can be a group that does not yet have territory. A group that is trying to create a state of their own, or trying to create war, trying to take over somebody else's territory, or even just trying to tear down somebody's territory without necessarily even trying to specifically get territory. But I guess the goal of that would be to get territory in the end. Oh, aid and comfort. So you have here, going back to aid and comfort. I kind of skipped over that, but we have a tab for it, so let's go to that tab. Aid and comfort refers to help given to a national enemy in such a way the help amounts to treason. Like I said, giving financial resources to a terrorist organization should count under that. Article 3, Section 3, Clause 1, that's what this is right here. This is Clause 1. This is Clause 2. We're going to cover that in a second. That adhering to the enemies of the United States, giving them aid and comfort, shall be treason. Any act that deliberately strengthens or tends to strengthen enemies of the United States, or that weakens intents, so it doesn't even have to be about getting territory. You see that right here. Or tends to weaken the power of the United States to resist and attack such enemies is characteristic as aid and comfort. And I would say consistently going out in the street and like beating people up should count. Over here, okay. Aid and comfort may consist of substantial assistance or the mere attempt to provide some support without even being successful. That's interesting. Actual help or success. Oh yeah, it even says it right after actual help or the success of the enterprise is not relevant. So even if you try to help a foreign agent, but you're not actually successful, like tweeting out that people should run people over with cars, which is something Hoda did. She tweeted out several times for people basically trying to recruit people into jihad. So that would be trying to provide support to ISIS, trying to provide them support in the way of free labor, recruitment, and whether or not people actually joined is not relevant. So her putting out those tweets alone should actually count as treason. All right, now I'm going to get into this second clause right here. The Congress shall have the power to declare any punishment of treason. Oh boy, not our Congress. Our Congress will be like, let him go! Thiefies! They did nothing wrong, unless they're white! Anyway, but no attainder of treason shall work corruption of blood. Now, what that actually means is your kids cannot, like, it ends with you. Now, if you've watched Star Trek Next Generation, you know, the Klingon, what's his name? Worf. He's always talking about such and such is a punishment. It's for, you know, X amount of generations. North Korea also does this. I would guess that if this is in our Constitution, this was probably more common because, I mean, this seems weird to us now, unless, like, you're watching a Star Trek episode, because I don't think any countries in the Western world do this, and a lot of people probably don't realize that, like, North Korea, I believe, does that, where you can give a punishment, and it's, like, 3 generations have to be, like, in a work camp. So, or forfeiture except for the life of the person attainted. So again, that means this ends with you. This doesn't go on to your kids. Your kids do not pay for your sins. You know, the sins of the father. Isn't that like a phrase or whatever? But it stops with you. The buck stops there. And, I would guess that if this phrase is in our Constitution, this must have been more common during the days when our country was founded. Like, maybe old England had that, or other countries in Europe where we came from, like nearby countries, maybe they had that. But it was on somebody's mind to add it, but that second clause means, basically. Now we've gone, like, the opposite direction, where we're like, everybody should just be able to do whatever they want, and we can't put anybody in jail, and we can't do anything if anybody breaks the law. People should be able to rob and steal from anybody, you know, unless you're white. Then everybody should be able to steal from you, because isn't that what they said? Because they hate us. So even if you're poor and you grew up oppressed, you're not really oppressed, because white people are not allowed to be oppressed. That's what the left said. But anyway, enough of that. So, so the other thing that I wanted to cover, oops.
Don't need to be awake, maybe.
Didn't mean to do that. One of the other things I wanted to cover is we've forgotten what war means. So, I wanted to mention that, like, with the war on drugs, it's like we're not fighting it. I mean, let's go back here to the definitions. And we want to go to the definition of war. State of open and declare armed hostile conflict between states or nations. If we were really at war with drugs or at war with poverty, if we were really doing that, we would be, like, if we were really at war with drugs, we'd be killing the cartels. If we were really at war with poverty, well, I don't really know what that would look like. But definitely with drugs, if we were really at war, if there was really a war on drugs, we would be taking out the cartels. Which is something, related channel, you may have come from this channel, but Halsey News Network, he talks about that sometimes. If you didn't come from his channel. But that's a channel that talks about, we should just go take out the cartels. He says that. And I don't know, kind of like that idea, actually. I mean, it would make more sense instead of like, why are we getting in all these proxy wars when our borders are here? Like, we're not protecting our own borders. We're running around protecting everybody else's borders. We know why we're doing it. We're doing it because the elites are making money off of oil, like the Bushes and the Kochs. They're all making money off of oil, and so they are part of the ones that are pressuring us to be at war to protect their assets, to protect their business interests. I mean, I guess we all need oil, but anyway. So yeah, and let's see if there's anything else I wanted to discuss. Treason, we discussed, that's kind of the whole thing. Enemies, basically that's tied into treason and war. And I think that's all I wanted to cover for this video. So, thanks for stopping by my channel. I will see you all next time.
People need to be awake and they need to be aware. They need to stand up against the Sect. People need to be awake. People need to be awake and they need to be aware. They need to stand up against this stuff.
And it's so politically engaged.
And is so politically engaged.